Happy Independence to you all our viewers. Thank you very much for watching the Uganda Catholic Television. I am Sunday Gloria Aboch with the Wednesday edition of Uctv News. And to dive in straight to our bulletin is President Museveni has reiterated the importance of the East African and African integration as the means to drive economic growth, stability and global influence, emphasizing that unity is the only way for Africa to effectively compete with global powers like the United States and the European Union. Museveni delivered this message in Busia as Uganda celebrated its 62nd Independence Day.
When we discovered that even Uganda was not enough, we needed East Africa, and we needed Africa for a bigger market. That's our second principle, Pan-Africanism. Love Africa. Why? It is because you need it for your prosperity. Soko la ndani ya Uganda halitoshi. We then realized that you cannot produce modern goods and services if you do not promote socio-economic transformation from the capitalist modes of social organizations. Hence, our third ideological principle of socio-economic transformation. We discovered that in the case of Uganda, people of the same tribe or locality tend to produce similar products and therefore cannot easily buy from one another. Therefore, it was clear that in the case of Uganda, once a zone produced goods and services, the next assistance to the effort of wealth and affluence creation would come from other zones of Uganda, most probably other tribes of Uganda, in the form of buying what was produced. That is how Uganda, as a country, became very crucial for wealth creation of the different zones. All the zones, all the tribes, all the religions, all the gender groups of Uganda needed Uganda for their prosperity and affluence. That is how we distilled the first ideological principle of the NRM, patriotism. Love Uganda. Why? It is because you need it for your prosperity. The third historical mission that we distilled was the similarity and linkages among the now 1.5 billion people of Africa. You always hear stories of the parasites, of how Africans are divided among tribes that are always fighting one another, etc., etc. The NRM, being the force of wealth creators, right from the beginning, held in contempt these positions. In reality, the now 1.5 billion people of Africa belong to four linguistic groups. The Niger Congo, those are the Bantu and the Kwa, the Nilo-Saharan, the Afro-Asiatic, and the Khoisan. Besides, you find linkages among these groups. Like I was amazed to find that the Somali word for cow is Sa. The Bantu dialects of this area call cow dung Sa, Obusa, Amasa, you know that very well. Above all, our ancestors at the coast of East Africa developed for us the neutral, non-tribal Swahili language that can easily unite East and Central Africa, if not beyond. Above all, our ancestors at the coast of East Africa developed for us the neutral, non-tribal Swahili language that can easily unite East and Central Africa, if not beyond. It is therefore feasible to use the similarities and linkages among the 1.5 billion Africans on the continent
Still coming up from the head of state, President Yoweri Museveni has called on the people of East and Uganda to embrace government programs aimed at socio-economic transformation to escape poverty. He also announced plans for the rapid construction of both meter gauge and standard gauge railways to better connect the region to the East African market. The president made these remarks during Uganda's 62nd independence celebrations at Busiko PTC grounds in Masafu Town Council, Busia District, under the theme "A Recommitment to Secure and Fortify Our Destiny."
The old meter gauge that is being repaired and the new standard gauge railway that will go from Malaba to Kampala and Kasese, as well as going from Tororo to Uri. With our petroleum resources, we are going to fund all of this. The importance of the railway is to lower transport costs. This makes it easier for business to make profits. We are already handling electricity. With low cost of production, Uganda becomes more attractive to business operators. They make profits more easily. Therefore, the people of the East rise up and take advantage of the government programs of PDM, Emyoga, Grow, etc. to join the money economy. The government has arranged for the rest: peace, infrastructure, the markets, etc. I cannot end this address without again emphasizing the importance of the African economic and political integration. Whatever we are doing in regard to the two historical missions, prosperity for the African people and the strategic security. All patriots and Pan-Africans in Uganda should link up with our brothers and sisters in Africa to work for the economic integration.
Dr. Akiza Besigye has called for a second liberation to restore power to the people and promote the development of Uganda. He made the remarks during a press conference this morning at the headquarters of the People's Front for Freedom as Uganda marked 62nd years of independence from Britain.
I would like to, congratulate all those who are alive today, 62 years after our independence. Every day in Uganda is a birthday for all those who are alive because it's very difficult to survive a day. Uganda was captured by the British. That's the reason we are celebrating liberating it from the British. It was captured formally starting with 1900 when the Buganda Agreement was signed. So from the time of Buganda Agreement in 1900 till 1962 was 62 years. So the important difference of this year's Independence Day from the others is that from the time we were formally colonized up to the time we liberated ourselves from the British is equal to the number of years from independence up to now. 62 years under colonial rule, 62 years under what we would call independence. And to get ourselves from colonial rule took a lot of struggle. Some of our people have forgotten the immense sacrifices that were made by our ancestors in freeing Uganda from the British. It took a struggle, and a successful one at that. What has been celebrated as an improvement in health has been life expectancy at birth. How long you expect to live for. That has increased, no doubt, especially in the years between 1986 and now. Life expectancy, how on the average people expect to live, has improved. From about 42 years, I think then, to now, again with the problems of our records, between 57 and maybe 60. That is what is recorded. So there is an improvement in life expectancy. What those who celebrate it don't point out is what has caused that. And it has been caused by mainly two factors. First, immunization of children, so that those who die between especially the first month and the 5 years have improved life after birth because of immunization. But who has been immunizing our child? Not ourselves. It is thanks to the UNICEF, thanks to the World Coalition on Vaccines called the Gavi, which they have been stealing from. You remember they stole Gavi funds? So, what survives the thieves of NRM has helped improve life expectancy because of vaccination. Secondly, has been the management of HIV/AIDS, which was killing very many people then, and thanks to the supply of ARVs and other related healthcare interventions, the HIV deaths dramatically went down. But who has been paying for HIV? The Americans. Almost 100% paid for by American taxpayers, whom someone you saw recently saying, I'm going to chase them out of Uganda. You know? Those have been the two interventions that I think have contributed to the increase in life expectancy. And so I think it is fitting, as we celebrate independence, to thank the taxpayers of other countries that have saved Ugandans. Yes, we must celebrate those who contribute to Gavi, who contribute to the immunization of Ugandans, and the international effort of UNICEF that coordinates it. We must celebrate the American taxpayers who have paid for the control of HIV/AIDS in Uganda and other health care interventions. The health expenditure of Uganda is contributed to by 70% from American taxpayers. 70%. So that is the state of health after 62 years. Ignorance, disease. So it means we are still swimming in disease. That is where we live. We live in disease because we have no health care system.
Now, Elias Lukwago, the acting president of the People's Front for Freedom, has urged members of parliament to hold discussions on constitutional amendments under the current regime. Speaking to media, or rather to Ugandans, as we celebrated 62nd years of independence, Lukwago dismissed talks of electoral reforms as idle, emphasizing that the focus should instead be on a political transition. Lukwago also described the 62nd years of independence as marred by economic crises and rising deaths, calling on Ugandans to rise up and combat these challenges.
We decry this kind of situation since independence, since 1962. We have not had a stable, durable, and functional constitution. 67, the unwritten one of Idi Amin. Then they started, the legal notice number 1 of 1986, which was also a constitutional instrument, and also the current one, 1995. That is very, very absurd. Ordinarily, we would be having only one constitution from the time we got independence, which of course would be amended with the time, because the constitution is an organic document which moves with the times. But we have kept on writing new constitutions every after one regime, and as we stand today, even the current 1995 constitution is not stable, is not durable. So we are making a call to all the stakeholders, particularly the members of parliament, who are thinking of tinkering with the constitution, hoping that they can make good out of the current document. I think I believe it's an exercise in futility. It is a perfunctory process they are indulging in. This current constitution is beyond redemption. It's irredeemable. It has been, distorted. It has been abused, violated, abrogated, and there's nothing that you can salvage out of the current situation. So let us not waste time on the talk for amendment of the constitution under the current regime where you have a family rule. So the earlier we realize that we need the transition, the better. That is one. The second issue is about what we have always emphasized, the failure to thrive crisis. It is critical. It's around this time when we think about, reflect, or reminisce what we have gone through as a country in the last 62 years, how we are surviving, how we have failed to survive as a nation, as a country. Today, our debt portfolio stands at 97 trillion Uganda shillings. And 34 trillion is meant, from our budget of 72 trillion, is meant to service that loan. And 32 trillion is going to be collected in taxes. So with that situation, we cannot survive as a country. And we are calling all Ugandans, we are making a call, it's a clarion call to all Ugandans. We must rise up against this odious debt syndrome. In law, we call it odious debt because it's contracted for purposes of transforming our economy, our society, but it ends up in pockets of a few individuals within the government circles. So it's an odious debt. An odious debt cannot be repaid by the citizens who have not benefited from it. So as we celebrate or commemorate 62 years of independence, let us reflect on this position that we are not liable to pay this debt as Ugandans, because it's an odious debt which has not benefited Ugandans.
Today it's all about Uganda celebrating her 62nd anniversary, or rather independence. Now we sat in an exclusive interview with Dr. Livingstone Sewanyana, the founder and executive director of the Foundation for Human Rights Initiative, reflected on Uganda's journey since independence. Dr. Sewanyana shared his insights on how the dreams of independence have yet to fully materialize materialize for many Ugandans. He expressed concern that the political, social, and economic realities today fall far short of the vision Ugandans once held in 1962. Nora Sende brings us the details to this.
On this day in 1962, the Union Jack was lowered and the Ugandan flag was raised, marking a historic moment of the independence and a new dawn filled with hope for self-reliance and self-determination in Uganda's political, social, and economic affairs. The atmosphere was charged with optimism as Ugandans envisioned a future where freedom, justice, and prosperity would be within reach.
Uganda is born again, free and independent.
However, 62 years since that momentous occasion, the dreams of achieving a full human rights remain elusive for many, according to Dr. Livingstone Sewenyana, the founder and executive director of Foundation for Human Rights Initiative. Speaking on Uganda's journey since independence, Dr. Sewenyana emphasized that while independence represented the pursuit of freedom from colonial rule and the ability to harness Uganda's resources for her people, the nation has yet to fully realize those aspirations.
As we celebrate our 62nd anniversary, this to a large extent remains a dream. The dream of freedom, the dream to have peace, the dream to have justice and prosperity for all still remains a dream. Mainly because the post-independence governments, much as they promised these ideals, have largely not been able to achieve them. And as we celebrate our 62nd independence, we still face the challenges that come with lack of freedom.
He highlighted that despite Uganda's independence, many Ugandans continue to grapple with poverty, insecurity, and lack of economic freedom, making the ideals of freedom, peace, and justice distant goals. According to him, the current state of affairs reflects the country still struggling to achieve the promises of independence, as the political, social, and economic realities fall short of the vision Ugandans once held.
That is poverty, lack of eternal peace, lack of human safety, although in some areas one can say we have achieved physical security, but human security and also economic freedom remain a cry for many. So overall, the human rights situation in Uganda today still is devoid of those aspirations, and that is one of those very many goals that we still need to attain.
Dr. Sewenyana underscored the importance of looking back at Uganda's past to correct its future. He reflected on the pre-colonial era, where traditional systems of governance were in place, and the post-colonial period marked by constitutionalism.
Militarism was introduced in our governance at a very early stage, starting with the King African Rifles, and of course later on with the chiefdoms and the chiefs. And subsequently, if you look at the Obote government, the Amini government, and now the NRM government, each of them is characterized by militarism. For us to achieve the freedom we are talking about, the prosperity, we must ensure that matters of governance are restricted to civil, they should be civil in nature, meaning that the military, since it left the barracks during Obote, it has never gone back. it continues to, to dominate our political terrain.
However, this progress was undermined by military intervention, which derailed the democratic aspirations of the people. He urged that governance should remain civil and not militarized.
Corruption, whichever country you go to which has a military regime or where the military dominates, corruption is inevitable because there are no checks and balances. So we need to deal with corruption as well.
Furthermore, Dr. Sewanyana called for the military to adhere to its rightful mandate, noting that militarism does not contribute to effective civilian administration. Instead, he advocated for a governance system that is participatory and people-centered.
One of the distinguished features of our independence has been the growing trend of discrimination, nepotism within our society. We need to deal decisively with the problems or issues of nepotism, discrimination, and tribalism. But above all, we need to bring the individual, the citizen, at the center of his or her governance. Meaning that we need to make our governance more participatory.
As Uganda celebrates 62 years of independence, the struggle for freedom, justice, and prosperity continues, and there is a growing call for the governance system that reflects the hopes and the dreams of all Ugandans as they work towards a future that honors the ideals for which independence was fought. Nora Osende for Uctv News.
And with the Rome reports, thank you very much for being a part of this Wednesday edition of Uctv News. I am Sunday Gloria Aboch. Hoping you are still enjoying the Independence Day. I wish you the very best of tonight.